Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you how I get my snares to sit in the mix. This was a Discord server suggestion, so if you want to join, the link is in the description. In this video I'm going to be using FG Gray from Slate Digital. However, you can still get the same result from just about any bus compression as long as it has like the high pass filter on it. I'll go through two compressors that I use, and you can copy the settings. I find that those settings, at least when I copy them over, they always work, at least with some minor adjustments. So this is how the song sounds right now. And so personally, I think the snare is pretty alright. It's still loud, but it's not too pokey in your ear when you hear it. And I don't achieve that with snare processing itself necessarily, but with compression on the buses. So I'm soloing the drums now, and this is just one of my default settings I have. So decently fast attack, it's at 1, the fastest release. Threshold is going to vary, but I'll explain how to get to the threshold in just a second. Always 4:1 for me at least, and high pass, that's also variable, but generally around 99 to 100 is fine for me. And you'll see that if I take this off, the drums are pretty balanced, I think. I've heard it so much it's hard to tell. But when I turn it off, you'll hear that in the mix, the snare is gonna be really pokey. So unsoloed drums. So you can kind of hear, it's not in every snare hit, but some of the snare hits are quite a bit louder than the others. And so to fix that, I just threw this compressor on here. So I aim around 3. So every snare hit, I want it to be somewhere in the general area of 3. And when I dial the threshold, I don't want to go so far to where every kick is also going to go to 3 and then the snare is on 16 or something. So I like to go just enough to where the needle is moving when the snare hits, and that's how I know the snare is being affected by the compression only, and therefore just making it more balanced. So this is what it sounds like with it. And you can immediately tell the difference there. I had it too low, just for an example's sake, and it didn't sound very different because the needle was barely being pushed. But as soon as I raised it a little bit and it went to the 3 mark, then it immediately kind of just fell back into the mix, but it was still quite audible. I also do the same thing on the mix bus. These are honestly the same exact settings, which is why I say go ahead and copy them. Like for the first time, I can confidently say copy these settings. And you'll see that it does generally the same, just to a lesser extent, because I didn't want it to compress all of the instruments too much. So you'll still see that it only really kind of moves when the snare hits. Or not. The concept is the same. The only reason it didn't do that now is because I raised the threshold on the drum bus, and so it was already kind of just leveled and this was just redundant, but it still adds a bit more glue to the mix. And so let's say you don't have FG Gray, but you have a different compressor. I highly recommend a SSL compressor, even if you don't have one yet. It's one of the rare times I'll say I recommend you buy one. I use one from Solid State Logic, and I'm going to show you my settings that, again, is just mostly copy-paste on every mix, and it just works. I even have a preset called Easy, because literally just makes it easy. And the way I dial this in is I keep the attack really fast, auto release, 2:1 ratio. That can also vary if you want. Not really using high pass on this preset, however, I can pull it up to around 100, just like the FG Gray, and just make it go to around 3 to 4. Same exact concept. And so as you can see, it was pretty much just a good starting point for those settings I had. I find that this compressor in particular mostly works well on the instrumental bus, but it still works for this case as well. So all I did was change the ratio to 4:1, raise the high pass to around 125, and put the threshold up to 2 dB, and raise the makeup gain just to kind of compensate for the volume. Sounds pretty similar. Not really, but has the same effect. And so now we'll just go through and compare 1/2 with it and 1/2 with the FG Gray. And so as like I said, even though they're not really too similar, they have a complete different feel, but that isn't a bad thing. Having the different feel, like the SSL compressor, that might fit your song the most. The FG Gray might fit your song even better. It's really just kind of preference on what you're going for, what the song needs, but keeping that general rule of having the needle or whatever meter just go around to like 3 to 4 dB of reduction or compression, whatever, and you'll find that it really does cut back how pokey the snare is while keeping it very audible and enjoyable. But anyway, that is all I have time for today. So if you liked the video, give it a like, subscribe if you want to, or don't, that's cool too. I won't hold it against you, but I will cry. If you want to join my Discord server, again, link is in the description, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.